So when you call the order, we'll need to acknowledge that we, after we have a quorum and under adoption of the agenda, we have a walk-in item that we'd like to place under finance as an action.
Can I use your pen? All right. Walk in under finance. What is that?
It is the design build procurement.
Maybe I should bring a cooler. Next time I'll bring a cooler.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We'll call to order this March 11th of Cape Fear Public Utility Authority regular board meeting. This morning we need a motion to excuse Mr. Joyner.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Next, we'll have an adoption of our agenda. We do have a walk-in item for the design build procurement authorization for federally funded water main extensions to private wells that we will include under finance.
Move as modified.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Next, approval of our February minutes, Dr. Ken.
The minutes from our prior meeting are in the packet for your review, and if there are no comments or changes, I would move that we approve those.
Mr. Chair,
Oh, yes, Mr. Sup.
just a quick, I'm sure it's a typo, but on page 8 of the minutes there, it notes the Long Randy Planning Committee. And
That is definitely a typo.
yeah, so I just wouldn't want anybody to drift in another direction, though. So if we could change that to long range, I think that would be good. Yeah, sure, Todd. Yeah. Other than that, move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, any public comments today? None? We have 3 items on the consent agenda before you for approval or discussion. Any comments or take a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Number A, it notes that SAFO contractors are involved with that. I just want to make it clear to anybody, and in the minutes here, that this is not our mayor SAFO. It's indeed related to him, but Mayor SAFO is not the contractor who is working on this project. It just is an unusual and very identifiable name. Just want to make it clear.
Okay.
It was just a comment then. Thank you,
All right.
Mr. Chair. With that, I move to pass the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda passes. Move on to new business. Attorney's report, Nicolette.
I have no report.
Wow. Been a while.
Okay. You have a fever?
No, feeling well. You guys have a long enough meeting today.
Or is there anything else you'd like to share? All right, we'll move on to Executive Director's Report. Mr. Walter?
Yes, we have 5 reports, and then I'd like to make a verbal 6th report. So for the 5 monthly reports that you received, key indicators, safety report, environmental report, strategic plan update, and economic development projects update, are there any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Oven.
just 3 quick comments or requests for clarification under the key indicators and safety report, the key indicators only. On page 50, the safety report, the January data is missing. I'm sure that just was a glitch, just is blank, that's all.
There were 0 accidents for that.
I couldn't hear you back.
There were no accidents for the incident.
Oh, there were.
Yeah, so sorry, sir. When there are
Put a
no
0, yeah.
events, it's blank. We can take future steps to acknowledge that there was no problems for future reports.
Yeah. Thank you. Page 56, days billed, charges outstanding. 31 days is the lowest in 12 months. Yahoo! I think that's a real accomplishment. And also on page 66, the wastewater plant flows south side. Maybe I'm misreading this, but it looks as though the peak day is actually lower than the daily average in February of '26. Maybe I'm just misunderstanding it, or it seemed odd.
Yeah, obviously, we have a problem with that. The peak day should not be lower than the average. I'm not sure exactly what is going on there, but we'll dig into that.
Great. Thanks very much, Kevin.
Please expect a follow-up in the weekly update.
Cool. That's all I had, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Chair, I've got a comment on the question about the safety report where we had one of our vehicles rear-end another one of our vehicles. And in a case like that, what do we, is there some consequence for the driver?
There are consequences because it's a personnel action. We can't discuss it in a public setting. Be glad to have a side conversation with you.
Okay, thank you.
So those are the 5 reports. I do have a brief verbal acknowledgement. We are losing one of our key leadership team members. My communication and senior policy advisor, Vaughn Haggerty, has shared that he is retiring in August. Vaughn is one of the key people that I have within our organization, and I'm going to act to overhire that position. So we are going to be advertising it soon, so Vaughn's replacement can spend some time with him and learn from him. So I want to publicly thank Vaughn for his amazing service, and we'll do more so as we get closer to the actual date. And that ends my report.
All right, thank you, Ken. We'll move on to committee reports. Executive Committee met March the 4th. Minutes are in the packet. Long Range Planning Committee.
Met February 26th, minutes from the packet. We heard 3 presentations. One was the draft fiscal year 2027 CIP plan. We heard a presentation on maintenance of private fire hydrants, and then an update on the water line extensions to the neighborhoods with PFAS contaminated wells.
Any comments, questions?
Mr. Chair, and maybe it's later in the meeting. I'd just like to make some comments about the 10-year FY27 CIP and the 10-year CIP. Will there be a discussion with the full board later, or is this the time to start that?
So we have a workshop immediately after your
Yeah,
full
of course.
board meeting where we will dive into in detail.
Yep.
Glad to discuss
No,
anything.
No, you're absolutely right. I just blanked on that we're going right into it. So let's keep moving. Yeah.
All right, we'll move on then to Finance Committee, Mr. Smith.
Sir, the minutes of our meeting on the 4th of March are in your folder if you have any questions about those minutes. If not, we'll move into the financial report.
Good morning. Just very briefly, just want to kind of take you through where we stand as of the end of January in terms of our net position. Good news is, well, good news is this unassigned number is at just above 60 million. You know, as we've been talking about, we've received some funding from some settlement proceeds, and also the remainder of the SDC funds from Wrightsville Beach that have come in and that are reflected in this number here. I did want to hit on some discussion that we had in the Finance Committee. We've been looking at 2 revenue policy decisions. One involves the sewer cap for our residential customers. Right now, it's capped at 15,000 gallons, so water metered in excess of 15,000 gallons is not billed on the sewer side. So looking at the implications of that, obviously there's a revenue component to that, an additional sewer revenue component that helps control rates and also aligns the pricing signals for irrigation usage on domestic water meters more in line with the pricing for irrigation off of separate irrigation meters. We've also been reevaluating how we scale our water and sewer monthly fixed charges by meter size. That's a little more of an in-depth discussion. But the Finance Committee has directed me to include those as options in our budget recommendation that we're going to be bringing next month. So you'll get to see kind of what it looks like with and without those proposed changes. Some good news as far as the SRF funding for Southside. We were approved to extend the term of that loan from 20 years to 30 years. That's been approved by DEQ. That still needs approval from LGC. I don't anticipate any hiccup there. We've already been approved to extend our revenue bond financing when it comes to that from 25 years to 30 years. So I think this will be more of just a ministerial type of approval from LGC as far as that.
And if I can actually just speak to that, I don't know how many people have been paying attention to the LGC as of late, but their meetings have been significantly truncated from what they used to be. And the normal process, what should have been followed previously and was not followed, was stamping things that had the proper check boxes made and moving them along. So I don't think we'll have any problems.
Thank you for that comment.
LGC is in a much better place than it was about a year and a half ago.
And we want to acknowledge that. We're very grateful for that. Now, remember, this is a multi-step process. We're celebrating the fact that we get to extend these loans. That's good for us. And we feel confident that LGC staff will be supportive of that concept. But to address the rates and to try to pull those future rates down, we also need their support in allowing us to defer the bond issuance and spend this loan money down first. So that's the big input or the big impact, is we can defer issuing bonds a little bit later. That has the most impact on our rate model, which we haven't run as far as I know. But now that we've gotten this far, we're going to do our best to try to get an answer before this budget. We asked you to keep in mind that we may not get one. So we're looking at this budget without this added benefit right now.
And that's all I had. Ken stole my thunder, so.
All of it. All of it. But John deserves amazing credit for accomplishing this.
That's it. No. Well, I want to give a shout out to Craig Wilson, who was the one that really spearheaded and Kevin that spearheaded the effort to put that documentation together to get the loan term extended from 20 to 30 years. We had to work with our engineers to justify and document that the weighted average useful life of the South Side project was going to be greater than 30 years. Not that difficult, but certainly a technical exercise. And so credit really belongs to Craig and to Kevin for that. So thank you. Thanks.
Mr. Chair, John, a quick question for you. On top of that good news, you're going to throw something at me for asking this question, but it's a top of mind, especially going into our next session. Do we have in place at this time the money we need to build Southside?
We have the plans in our model to do so. We have the budget authority to do so. We have been talking to LGC for 2 years around this financing. However, there are still steps that need to be taken, right? So the actual authority to issue the bonds has to come through this body. It has to then go to LGC for approval. As far as the SRF loans, I believe the $200 million that has been approved by DEQ, I think there's been about 45 or so million that has been run through LGC to date. That's part of the discussion that Ken was talking about. How they traditionally wanted to see it is, once we get that final GMP3, is for us to have all of the funding in place at the same time. So they want us to go out for bonds at the same time that GMP3 is approved. It makes more sense from a rate standpoint to defer that and spend down that SRF money first. That helps us kind of spread out this smoothing period that we've been talking about for the past couple of years. So, as your finance professional, I have no doubt that we'll be able to procure the funding. However, there are still steps that need to be taken in that process.
So we procured approximately half of the funding through SRF. We've got to go to the market for the remainder. We're going to ask the local government commission for permission to defer that until we've expended all of the loan money first. That deferral will allow us to spread this, instead of 5 years, over some longer period, 7 or so, which will have an impact on rates.
I just want to point out, this is a major milestone for this organization. I can remember, years ago, 10, 12 years ago, when we first were even uttering the idea of Southside. At that time, the huge amount of $125 million, and then over the years, getting up to over $400 million. And to now see a clear path forward with identified of how we will pay for it, that's just huge, John and Ken and the entire staff. It really is a relief, because of course there's a lot to go with it still. A major milestone. So thank you for the hard work there. And will also allow us to get on to look at other things as well. We've been really focused on the Southside wastewater treatment plant replacement. So great job is all I can say. So thank you. And good leadership from our chair, I might add, as well.
Just one question.
Yeah.
Again, I know you all have told us before, but when do we expect that final guaranteed maximum price?
So Craig Wilson, who is project lead, is actually in school right now at the Water and Wastewater Leadership Center. But being the overachiever he is, he's also negotiating prices at night. I spoke to Craig and to the others, and that individual pricing is coming in, but it's extremely complicated. I'll give an engineering walking answer. We're still trying to get, for example, an understanding of the concrete supply and what kind of additives will be necessary to meet the concrete specifications. And that difference is $1 million by itself. So we're trying to nail down a bunch of little issues. I expect to have a number for us to review in late April. If it's earlier, it's a blessing. We'll bring it to you as soon as it's available.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Oh, we have an action item that we just added?
Yeah, then we'll go to do the walk-in item.
It's a walk-in item to authorize us to use a design build procurement for the new federally funded water main extensions for the private wells in those 3 areas. I think Gary's going to make a short presentation on that.
Thank you. I'll be brief. This is a walk-in item. As you all know, the state issued 3 additional emerging contaminant, small and disadvantaged communities loans in advance of the governor's arrival last week. And so the loans have a condition in them that we prepare an engineering report and submit that by August of this year. In order to achieve that condition of those loans, we needed to make this a walk-in to buy all the time we had to be able to advertise for a engineer, get the engineer under contract and get him to make the engineer's report. It required to be able to use design build, which we've used in all instances previously. We need this board's approval to use that procurement methodology. The purpose of this item is to request the use of design build procurement methodology for the grant projects of Blossom Street, Cape Landing, and Chadwick Acres.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
If I might take a moment of personal privilege, this was hard work by Gary and his team to continuously apply for grants, and I'm very proud of them. We're now talking $35 million. A couple of years ago, we had nothing. But these new grants, which we're very grateful for, have some pretty strict conditions. And from my observation as your executive director, we're going to have to add some staff resources from somewhere short-term to make this a reality. So I'm not really sure what that means or what level, but we have a 90% connection requirement for these grants, which is new. And to accomplish some of these things in a very short time frame, it's going to require staff resources, even if we contract out services more. Oversight is oversight, and our staff were at maximum capacity and beyond maximum capacity, honestly, before we received these grants. So again, we're incredibly grateful to the state for giving us this funding to solve this problem, but we need to address short-term staffing issues to make sure this is successful. So I'm going to bring my team together this week or next to figure out what that means, and I'll report it back to you at the next meeting.
And I know your thinking on this is evolving, but at 90% requirement for tie-in to our system, we're bumping up against the non-mandatory tie-in
Yes.
law
Yes.
that's there.
Yes.
Those two seem to be in conflict, those two thoughts with each other. What is the path forward so that we can continue to help out these communities?
The only one that I can see is, quite frankly, putting more boots on the ground to talk to people and explain the options and benefits and try to persuade a larger percentage of those that are already negatively impacted to join the system. Short term, I see this as the only viable solution.
If I hear it right, my understanding is the main complaint is that people don't want another bill in their
That's
life.
right. That's right.
It's not the matter of getting the connection, it's just jumping into a system where they'll have an annual or monthly bill.
And again, from my perspective, having a knowledgeable person sit down at the kitchen table and explain the benefits, as well as explain the risk as we understand them from the existing exposure, so that these people can make an informed decision, is our most likely path to moving that number from whatever it is now, 60, 70, 80%, to 90%, which is required by the grant. We're also going to go back to the grant agency and see if there's some potential relief. But again, this is good problems to have. I like to use that language. This is a good problem to have.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, Scooties.
I would also offer that there have been some fantastic community members that have been very bought in on this advocacy. Commissioner Zappel can attest to that. We've spoken with them quite a few times at commission meetings. I would lean into these individuals. They've already helped bring it to this point, but we are going to need your assistance to help convince your neighbors that this is a worthwhile endeavor.
Yep.
And I would wager almost anything that they'll be willing to do that, but they need to be asked.
Right, and we're going to absolutely do this. What we're talking about is there's still a minimum amount of organizing, central organization that is core to your staff, and that staff have a workload. So we're going to have to take something off their plate so they can add more time and expertise to this problem. That work has to go somewhere. That's also, and that's engineering and finance, because these terms are slightly different than some of the others. So we're now looking at 6 funding sources. We'll come up with a solution, I promise you that. But it may be that we're going to reallocate people within the organization, or we may advance some positions that we had planned on in future years to something immediate. I'll explain what that recommendation is at your next meeting. But to keep this on track, I'm going to use executive director discretion to try to solve this at the lowest responsive cost while keeping the project on track.
And no doubt, I'm not disputing that in the slightest, and nor am I suggesting that we need to shift the actual workload on to citizens. However, they have credibility in their neighborhoods and will help to sell the case.
Thank you. That's very important. We'll go hand in hand with those folks to speak with as many people as possible.
Mr. Chair.
Good. Yes.
And also point out, if you look at the key indicators, that the spike in development services is another area where it's putting more burden on our current staff. So there's some things there that we could look at.
It's another good problem to have. And a spike in development services means a spike eventually in system development fees or charges and in revenue ultimately. But as your executive director, I got to find ways to manage that workload short-term, long-term.
Ken, the details of this project we're talking about here, these 3 individual communities, do we have the opportunity to use that 90% number to cover all 3 as opposed to individually? What
I'd like to do is kind of bring back to long-range planning, how we're going to tackle this. But this particular challenge is specific to these communities.
Yes, let's talk about it more.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes Finance. We'll on to Sustainability Committee. Dr. Cannon?
Yep, the Sustainability Committee met on the 26th. We do not have a report today. I was not there, but we are continuing to talk. You missed me? You didn't even notice?
No, you totally missed me.
We continue to talk about the difficulty with meeting our reduced emissions goals given Duke Energy Progress's changes, but we're going to keep the discussion going and try to remain optimistic. We've also moved a number of important key staff under engineering to more closely align them with capital improvement projects planning. And I imagine we'll have a report sometime in the next couple of months.
Thank you. With that, we have any old business? I just had 3 quick things for closing comments. One, last week we met with Secretary Wilson and Governor Stein, and I just think it's so great to be part of an organization that's proactive, and I think everybody sees the proactiveness. I mean, since for the last 8 or 9 years, we've made a lot of progress in getting ahead of things that were caused to us. And I think the state recognizes that. I think Ken's done a great job of advocacy. The whole organization has done a great job of advocacy, standing up for ourselves, getting the information out there. It's just always impressive. And then from a staff level, I just think we talked about that today, but the level of professionalism and the expertise that we have from our staff is really, we know it's great, but when you're in a setting like that, and I'll use Ben Kearns as an example, the way he represented the organization, spoke to these leaders, it was just really impressive. So I just want to take a moment to recognize the staff that's in the room and staff as a whole for the great work that they're doing. Second, I just want to make a reminder, the service awards is on March the 26th from 7 to 9 at UNCW Bernie Center. I would encourage anybody that can to go. That is another great way to just interact with the staff all in one spot and recognize. There was a spreadsheet sent out. There's a lot of long-serving staff here that's done a great job. So I would encourage anyone that can attend to attend. And then last, just to say to Vaughn, how much we appreciate what you've done. I mean, you've been on the ride from the beginning, especially with the PFAS and Gen X, and taking us from a position that we didn't really know where we were to where we are today, which is transparent, proactive, and very fact-based. And the transformation since Vaughn has came on board is really unbelievable. So anyway, thank you for your service and your time, and we appreciate everything you've done. So.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
DEQ announced public hearings for the PFAS and 1,4-dioxane
Yes.
monitoring and minimization plans. Are we planning to make public comments at those?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Are we going
And
to
they'll
share those?
align with your previous positions.
Okay.
As a reminder, our position has been that we are appreciative of any progress, but that we firmly believe that these pollutants need to be regulated in stream. And this proposal doesn't align with those previous comments. So we're going to be both appreciative and strongly encouraging them to go further.
Okay.
Any other comments? If not, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Favor? Thank y'all. We have the CFP workshop after the meeting. Take a quick break.
Quick break.
Yeah.
Okay.